It's April 21st. Yesterday was April 20th, 420 for some of us, Easter for some. Um, and for many of us, it was a day where the portal opened and we were able to timeline jump, to jump into an entirely new reality, to finally align ourselves with the version of us God has called us to be. I don't think a timeline jump means that you've completely changed overnight. I think that there will always be some work to do, some bad habits to cut loose, some people to cut off, some things to get rid of, just any energetic ties that we have, that we need to be conscious of and to remove. But I do think that many of us woke up today with a new awareness of the world, with a new outlook on life, on our lives, on our life paths. And how beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? And how lucky are we to experience this and to witness the power of God? Energetically, the past few days, I wasn't feeling great. I was so tired. And honestly, I thought that it was just because I was in my luteal phase. And so I was like, okay, I need to get like 10 hours of sleep because I'm a cranky pants when I'm in my luteal phase. And it turns out that it was partially that, but even more than that, there was a massive shift happening in the collective. And so our bodies were just resting in order to prepare for this massive shift, this timeline jump, this shift in consciousness. I didn't even know that yesterday was a portal day because honestly, I've lost all concept of time. I've lost track of the days, the dates, all of it. And so when I was feeling this energy yesterday, it felt like this buzzing all throughout my body. I felt it. It started in my heart, and then it would transfer to my my chest. Then it would go to my shoulders, down my arms, to my fingertips, down my spine. I just felt things so deeply with my body. And I'm not used to that. I'm actually someone who lives in my mind a lot. And I don't mean that just in the sense of like overthinking, which is something that I have always struggled with. But beyond that, I'm someone who struggles to feel with my body. So like, for example, if I'm sitting in front of a computer and I'm like editing a video, I could do that for like 7 hours and neglect the fact that my body might need to like use the bathroom or drink some water or eat something. And it isn't until I'm done with that thing that I'm like, oh, my body's actually dehydrated and I have a horrible headache. And it's because I literally didn't hear my body calling to me for something. And so being someone that tends to like live in my mind, you know, I am very motivated by my beliefs. I'm very motivated by the things that feel true to me in my mind. And so I've always believed in God. I've always believed in the power of God. But I've only physically felt the power of God on rare occasions. I've always believed in God, and there have been times that I've felt God like with my heart. Like there was one point in time where my heart was heavy for like a year, and it was because I wasn't living in alignment with my true life path. And so, you know, I experienced a lot of anxiety, seasons of depression. And I remember I would just tell people, yeah, there's just like a heaviness on my chest. I don't know what it is. I'm like, I hope it's not like heart disease or something. Like, I don't know why I feel this way. And then when I started living in alignment with my true path and my true self, that's when that heaviness lifted from my chest. And so waking up this morning, I mean, I haven't had that heaviness in a while, but something that I realized when I woke up this morning was that I could feel the presence of God physically for like, and it's been enduring all day since I've woken up. You know, again, I've only really felt physically the presence of God, you know, if I am in like really deep prayer, or honestly in seasons of transition where things just feel really uncertain, and I get on my knees and I pray and I beg God to just to touch me, to hold me in some way, right? Um but today, you know, after this portal, after this timeline jump, I feel God around me physically. And I've known for a while that God has his hand over me, that I walk with God, but today I felt like I was holding God's hand. And what a blessing is that. I'm making this video really just to share in the joy of those of us who will understand this, you know, to share in the joy of this timeline jump, because this is something that many of us have been waiting for. Many of us have been waiting for this. You know, this last year of my life has been pretty crazy. It's had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and I'm grateful for it all. I truly am. The lows took me to places that I hadn't been to in a while, and it also showed me the ways that I've grown, because there were some depths that I reached that I didn't know that I had within me. And the fact that I was able to, with the help of God, pull myself out of those periods just continuously reaffirmed to me the power of my faith, the power of my obedience in God, and the power of my resilience that God has gifted me. And for a while, I've felt that transformation within myself, but today I feel like a physical transformation. For many of us, when there's a new season approaching, or a new portal opening, or a new moon, we think to ourselves, okay, things are about to change, things are about to shift. And a lot of the time, these shifts happen in our mental sphere, right? It happens in the form of like a mindset shift, or a spiritual shift, a shift in consciousness. But this shift on the 20th felt really different. It felt like a jump into authenticity, like full, unfiltered, raw, genuine, egoless authenticity, right? It feels like things are about to begin to transpire in the material, right? For many of us, I mean, honestly, the process is we have to heal emotionally, we have to heal psychologically, we have to heal spiritually, and then the material world will catch up with all of that internal work and that internal growth we've experienced. And I think we are genuinely on the brink of that. I think in the next few weeks, in the next few months, so many blessings are coming in for so many of us, like so much abundance in all forms, whether it's, you know, love or relationships or opportunities, money, you know, new homes, babies. And I'm not saying this in a way that's like, you're going to be super rich and famous, but I do think that many of us, because we have been called to align ourselves with our highest selves, with our truest selves, there is a call to authenticity. And when you are authentically yourself, the way that God opens doors for you, because in order for you to live in your calling, in order for you to live in your God-given purpose, you have to know yourself, and you have to love yourself, and you have to share that. And so when you are operating from that space of self-love, when you're operating from that space of having God as your foundation, and you know that nothing can shake you, nothing is impossible for you to overcome with God, it changes the game completely. And what happens is your life and the things that happen in your life, they start to work in your favor. And you see these doors open that you didn't even realize that you needed to open, that you didn't even realize existed, right? So it's a really powerful time that we're in right now. I want to cry. Oh my God, I want to cry. And I'm really grateful. You know, this morning when I woke up, I saw the world. I felt like I saw the world in 4D. I'm not even lying. There were things that I feel like in my life and in my environment that I had constantly overlooked, maybe undermined, didn't appreciate as much as I should have. And I looked around me and I looked at my bedroom and I was just like, God, I am so blessed. I'm so blessed. I look at my hands and I'm like, I don't even recognize my hand. This feels so different. Everything about this feels so different. I felt the overwhelming presence of God with me. I felt like I was seeing life through the lens that God wants me to see life through always. And to me, that's the biggest shift that's happened in my life, where I've been really aware of God's presence in that. You know, I've done things in my life where I've made choices to change my life, and usually those choices to change were placed on me by God. Like the motivation or the push was from God. But at the time, I don't think I really understood that fully. I knew God existed, but I didn't have a close enough relationship with God to like know God's character, or to recognize his communications as well. But now I feel like I know what God feels like, and I know when God has done something in my life and when God has transformed me. And so I'm sure many of us woke up this morning feeling similarly, like not only do I feel the presence of God with me, but I feel a deep knowing that the life path God has laid out for me is real, and the dreams that I have and the desires that I have are mine to have. They are destined. They are given to me. They were given to me for a reason, and that God wants me to take a step forward in faith to fulfill that promise. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you felt this experience as well, waking up this morning. You know, this jump into this new timeline. In order to even access that, you have to be willing to look. You have to be willing to search for the truth, to search for your truest self, right? And it's going to be really hard to align yourself with your highest self. It's going to be really hard to live in your God-given purpose if you're living in deception, if you're not honoring your truest desires and your dreams. For those of you who may not know me, I talk a lot about faith. I talk a lot about self-belief. I talk about building a life that is authentically yours and true to yourself, creating a life that just feels really fulfilling to you. That's like my biggest thing in life. I've always just wanted to be myself and be unashamed of being myself, regardless of how people perceived me. And I want to build a life where like I genuinely enjoy my life and I can be myself, and me being myself doesn't take away from anything. It doesn't take away from my success. It doesn't take away from how much money I can make. It doesn't block me or limit me in any way. And so while I've kind of been aware of this for a while and understood the power of authenticity, a lot of that is like mindset work. A lot of that is spiritual work. But what is happening now is while I've always known that, God had a promise for me, after this portal shift, I now have like a deeper knowing. I have a deeper certainty that what God has promised for me will come into fruition and may come into fruition within this year. If I sit down and I close my eyes and I envision certain things in my life, I can vividly see them. Whereas before, I struggled with scarcity thinking. I struggled with believing that something was going to happen, or going out of my way to try something if I didn't know how I was going to do it. That mindset has completely shifted. And I know that regardless of how I get to that point, I'm still going to get to that point because God's promise is real and it's going to happen. There feels like a new era of possibility. I see opportunity in everything. I see the potential in everything around me. I'm seeing the seeds that I've planted begin to blossom a little bit, and I'm seeing the potential for new seeds to be planted with new things that are just coming my way, things that I've thought about, and then they just somehow manifest into my real life and they come to me. And so this is such a beautiful time, because I think the biggest thing that we're experiencing, from this timeline jump is, whoa, I get to be authentically myself. I can just be authentically myself, and I can be abundant through being my authentic self. And being my authentic self was the key to finding God and to finding God's purpose for my life. And amazing things are going to happen because I'm operating from that space. So yeah, I wanted to film this to share in the joy with everyone, because I'm feeling very grateful today, not just for this shift, not just for the portal, but for the possibility of change, for the possibility of a new reality. I'm grateful for the journey more than anything. I'm grateful that I took a bet on myself by leaving my last job. I'm thankful that I trusted in God as much as I did, even in moments when I was scared, and even in moments where I was mad at God, even in moments where I felt like I was being punished. I'm thankful to God for the clarity, because the truth was, God was never punishing me. God was preparing me. God was refining me. God was answering my prayers for wisdom, my prayers for clarity, my prayers for guidance, my prayers for more abundance. God was preparing me for all of it. And God was probably doing the same for you. He was definitely doing the same for you. God was redirecting you. Every rejection that you got, he was redirecting you. He was protecting you for more, for so much more. God is so good. Like, truly amazing. Truly amazing. And I'm telling you guys, these next few months, get ready. It's about to be wild for all of us in the best way. It's about to get really, really, really beautiful and really, really abundant. And I'm just so thankful to God. So yeah, just don't forget to thank God today, because what a blessing. Okay. Well, love you guys. Bye.